Corruption is an exchange that takes place between two actors. A corruptor, which can be a member of the public or an organisation, attempts to corrupt an official through activities such as bribery to bend the rules in their favour. Organised criminal groups use corruption for exactly this reason, undermining the rule of law and subsequently opening further avenues for exploitation. Corruption is estimated to cost the EU between 218 and 282 billion euros annually. Organised crime and illicit markets cost the European economy around 110 billion euros a year, and also have a serious social and political impact. The Cost of Non-Europe report attempts to determine what proportion of these losses is due to a lack of integrated EU-level solutions, and how this can be remedied. Several major issues have been identified. 1. A lack of transposition and enforcement of international and EU norms. 2. Outstanding legislative gaps. 3. Accountability of the policy-making process. And 4. Shortcomings in operational cooperation between authorities. EU norms designed to capture or undermine criminal endeavour and corruption suffer from disjointed application. Those responsible for applying these norms, which include national and local governments, may lack resources or the political will to implement EU rules. The result is a fragmented and ultimately weakened application of anti-corruption and anti-crime measures. This means corrupt officials and organised criminals can operate with more ease in specific industries or different areas of the EU, where norms have not been comprehensively applied, even if they cannot in others. The EU legislation itself, which is designed to combat corruption and organised crime, is also deficient. Gaps include a lack of clear definition for organised crime, a clear framework for police and judicial cooperation, and a lack of comprehensive protection for whistleblowers. In the case of whistleblowers, a lack of protection means potential witnesses may be deterred from providing crucial information. Criminals and corrupt officials are thus able to operate with less fear of exposure. Another weakness lies with the lack of use of EU judicial cooperation instruments and the expertise of Europol and Eurojust, denying access to potentially vital information and creating further space for criminals to operate. A chronic lack of conceptual clarity regarding organised crime and its definition is ultimately reflected in the policy that is conceived on the subject, making it more difficult for these regulations to target and capture those involved. On top of this, the actors involved in policy debates are mostly member states' representatives who are focused on their own state-level interests. The result is policies that reflect localised rather than EU-wide needs. Whilst it is crucial to address the unique nature of each state's respective crime and corruption problems, engaging the European Parliament and national parliaments in the policy cycle to a greater level will encourage a more coherent approach to fighting crime at EU level, as well as ensuring better accountability. The differences between member states' respective legal systems and organisational structures hinders operational coordination. EU agencies like Europol and Eurojust exist to help member states' authorities resolve both procedural and practical difficulties by setting up tools like joint investigation teams to facilitate smooth information sharing. The issue is that these agencies and resources are not currently used by national authorities to their full potential. Evidence shows that EU tools are more readily employed by practitioners when they are more familiarised with them through training. Furthermore, these tools have met both legal and operational obstacles due to the problem of transposition and implementation. There is a need to further facilitate and clarify the rules surrounding the use of joint investigation teams so that they may be deployed more frequently and with even better results. The problems identified are the result of a splintered attempt to counter corruption and crime. While the foundation for effective action is present, closing the gaps will enhance these approaches. This process would include developing an independent system to evaluate the ratification, transposition, implementation, and enforcement of security and justice measures, the further approximation of the definitions and sanctions for organised crime and corruption, measures to improve the protection of whistleblowers, and improving and further developing police and judicial cooperation at operational level. It is clear that the EU can create a system of greater unity to combat illicit activities, closing the net on crime and corruption, and saving an estimated 71 billion euros in the process.